Donald Trump's presidency and candidacy have been polarizing topics. Today, we'll explore 16 qualities his supporters highlight as reasons for his success. You won't hear this from the mainstream media. They've tried to bury these truths. They hate him because he speaks for you, not the elites. We're not afraid to tell the truth here. We'll break down these 16 qualities so you can understand what makes Donald Trump tick. Now, more than ever, America needs a leader who isn't afraid to make the tough calls, someone who doesn't back down from a fight. And that's Donald Trump to a T. He doesn't get bogged down in endless committees and focus groups and polls. He doesn't need some fancy consultant to tell him what to think. He trusts his gut, he sees a problem, and he fixes it. The swamp creatures in Washington hate that, of course. They want a president they can control, a puppet who dances to their tune. But Donald Trump answers to one people and one people only, the American people. Let's be honest, folks. Politicians are all talk and no action. They're masters of doublespeak, hiding behind teleprompters and carefully crafted sound bites. But not Donald Trump. He tells it like it is, no holds barred. He doesn't sugarcoat things. He doesn't play the political correctness game. He speaks his mind, and that's refreshing, especially in this era of fake news and phony outrage. The media, of course, they can't stand it. They're used to politicians they can push around, guys who are afraid to say what they really think. But Donald Trump, he sees right through them. He calls them out for the frauds they are. For too long, we've had career politicians running this country, people who've never held a real job in their lives. Donald Trump is different. He's a businessman, an entrepreneur, a builder. He knows how to create jobs, how to negotiate deals, how to get things done. He spent his life in the real world, not in the swamp of Washington, D.C. And that's the experience we need in the White House. Chapter 4, The Ultimate Outsider. In 2016, America was hungry for change. They were tired of the same old politicians. They wanted someone who would fight for them. And that's what they got with Donald Trump. He wasn't part of the club. He was a true outsider. They tried to destroy him. But he wouldn't back down. He knew the American people were behind him. Chapter 5. A Voice for the Forgotten Man. For decades, the elites in Washington have ignored the concerns of working-class Americans. They've shipped our jobs overseas, opened our borders to illegal immigration, and sold us out to globalist interests. But Donald Trump, he heard the cries of the forgotten men and women of this country. He saw the pain in their eyes, he felt the anger in their hearts, and he promised to fight for them. He promised to bring back jobs, to secure the border, to put America first. And that's exactly what he did. Tam. Chapter 6. A fighter who never gives up. They say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And if that's true, then Donald Trump is the strongest man on earth. Because they've thrown everything they've got at him, and he's still standing. The fake news media, the deep state, the Democrats, they've all tried to take him down. They've lied about him, they've spied on him, they've impeached him, but he never gives up. He never backs down. He's a fighter, plain and simple. And he's fighting for you. Chapter 7. In this day and age, it's almost become unfashionable to love your country. The globalists, the elites, they want us to be ashamed of America, to apologize for our greatness. But Donald Trump is not ashamed of America. He's proud of our history, he's proud of our values, and he's proud of our people. He believes in American exceptionalism, and he's not afraid to say it. He knows that America is the greatest country on earth, and he's dedicated to making it even greater. Chapter 8. For too long, our streets have been overrun by criminals. The radical left wants to defund the police, empty the prisons, and let chaos reign. They've turned their backs on law-abiding citizens, and they've embraced anarchy and violence. But Donald Trump believes in law and order. He stands with the men and women of law enforcement, and he's committed to restoring safety and security to our communities. He knows that without law and order, there is no freedom, and he's not afraid to stand up to the mob and say so. Chapter 9. For decades, our leaders have sold us out to foreign countries. They've entered into disastrous trade deals that shipped our jobs overseas. They've sent billions of dollars to our enemies while neglecting our own people. But Donald Trump believes in putting America first. He's renegotiated bad trade deals, he's stood up to China, and he's brought our troops home from endless wars. He understands that we can't help others if we don't help ourselves first. And he's not afraid to stand up to the globalists and say so. Donald Trump is more than just a president. He's a movement. He's a force of nature that's shaken up the political establishment. His rallies are legendary, his supporters are passionate, and his message resonates with people from all walks of life. He's tapped into something deep within the American spirit, a desire for real change, and that's why they can't stop him. For too long, the American worker has been squeezed by high taxes, burdensome regulations, and unfair trade deals. The elites in Washington have gotten rich while the middle class has shrunk. But Donald Trump believes in putting more money back in the pockets of hard-working Americans. He's cut taxes, slashed regulations, and brought jobs back to America. He understands that a strong economy starts with a strong middle class, and he's not afraid to stand up to the socialists and say so. Donald Trump is a winner. He spent his life defying the odds, achieving the impossible, and proving his doubters wrong. He doesn't back down from a challenge, he embraces it. He's not afraid to be bold, he's not afraid to be brash, and he's not afraid to be himself. He knows his own worth and he's not going to let anyone tell him otherwise. And that's what makes him such a powerful leader. People are drawn to confidence, they're drawn to strength, and they're drawn to success. Our borders are being overrun, illegal immigration is out of control, drugs are pouring into our country, criminals are roaming free, and our sovereignty is under attack. But Donald Trump believes in securing our borders and protecting our sovereignty. He's building the wall, he's cracking down on illegal immigration, and he's putting America first. He understands that a country without borders is not a country at all, and he's not afraid to stand up to the open borders radicals and say so. For decades, the left has been packing our courts with activist judges who legislate from the bench and undermine our Constitution. They've turned our courts into tools of their radical agenda rather than guardians of our freedoms. But Donald Trump is committed to appointing judges who will uphold the Constitution as it was written. He's appointed hundreds of conservative judges to the federal bench, including 3 Supreme Court justices. He understands that the judiciary is the last line of defense for our liberties, and he's not afraid to stand up to the left's judicial activism and say so. The mainstream media is no longer a trusted source of information. They've become nothing more than the propaganda arm of the Democratic Party, pushing a radical agenda and silencing dissenting voices. They lie, they cheat, they distort, and they deceive. But Donald Trump has been a thorn in their side from day one. He's exposed their bias, he's called out their lies, and he's given a voice to the millions of Americans who are sick and tired of their fake news. He's shown us that we can't trust the media, we can't trust the polls, and we can't trust the establishment. We have to think for ourselves. Donald Trump is a champion of the American people. He's not beholden to special interests, he's not beholden to donors, and he's not beholden to the swamp. He's beholden to you. He's fighting for you, he's speaking for you, and he's putting your interests first. He understands the struggles of everyday Americans, he shares your values, and he's determined to make your lives better. He's the president we need, he's the president we deserve, and he's the president we've been waiting for. While these qualities have garnered significant support, it's important to note that they are also points of criticism for many detractors. The debate over Trump's leadership is highly polarized, and his presidency continues to be a subject of intense discussion and analysis. But one thing's for sure, Donald Trump has left an indelible mark on American politics. He's changed the way we talk about the issues, he's challenged the status quo, and he's inspired a new generation of leaders. Love him or hate him, you can't ignore him. He's Donald J. Trump, the 45th President of the United States, and he's here to stay.